Welcome to Mindful Chatting. I want to tell you something that changed my planning. It wasn't buying another planner. Trust me, I've bought plenty of those. And it wasn't finding the perfect app that I was looking for. It wasn't color coding everything. It wasn't time blocking. And it wasn't even becoming more disciplined. The biggest shift happened when I stopped asking, what do I need to do next week? And I started asking, what did last week teach me? For years, every Sunday looked the same for me. I'd open a brand new week on my page of my planner. I'd write down all of my appointments that I needed to be at. I would make a giant to do list for the week. I would convince myself that this would finally be the week that I would get caught up. And then by Wednesday, I'd already feel completely behind. Sunday would kind of roll around again, and I'd repeat the exact same cycle. Not because I wasn't trying, but because I wasn't learning. That's when I realized something. Planning isn't just about organizing your future, it's about understanding your past. And today I want to walk you through the 5 questions I ask every single Sunday before I ever start planning my next week. And these questions have probably changed my planning more than any planner I've ever purchased. So let's get through this together.
Welcome to Mindful Chatting, a podcast where therapy meets real life. I'm Kristen, a therapist, business owner, and a lifelong student of what it means to fully show up in our relationships, in our work, and in our healing. Here, we unpack mental health concepts, explore mindfulness tools, and talk through the messy, beautiful, in-between moments that shape us. Whether you're a fellow clinician, a curious listener, or someone navigating your own growth, this space is for you. Let's chat.
I think one of the biggest traps ADHD brains kind of fall into is what I call the Monday reset fantasy. We believe that every Monday is like a completely fresh new start for us. And then we tell ourselves things like, this week I'll finally stay on top of everything. But here's the problem with that. If we never learn from the week prior, we're just repeating the same mistakes with a prettier planner page. And as therapists, we know reflection is how clients grow in therapy sessions. Athletes watch game films, business review performance, researchers analyze data. And yet, somehow, when it comes to our own lives, we kind of skip the review process entirely. We just kind of move on. You don't need to start over every single Monday. You need to understand why last week unfolded the way that it did, so maybe you can have a different week. There's actually a reason why reflection matters so much. Our brains are wired to remember what was emotionally intense for us, not necessarily what was accurate. If you have ADHD, you might remember, I got nothing done this week. But when you actually look at your week, you realize I attended every appointment, I met all my client sessions, I picked up my daughter, I recorded a podcast, I cooked dinner. Your brain remember what you didn't do, but reflection helps you see what you actually did, and it corrects the story and the narrative that your brain is telling you.
If you want to understand your ADHD in a deeper way, I've created the ADHD Crash Course, and it walks you through ADHD step by step so that you can actually start understanding your brain and not shaming it. Everything's in small, doable lessons designed for your ADHD in mind. The link is in the show notes.
There have been Sundays where I felt like I completely failed the week before. And then I'd actually sit down with my planner page and realize that I actually spent hours preparing for my internship or running my practice well, or maybe showing up for my client sessions or recording certain podcast episodes. And then I was able to take care of my family. Was everything finished on my to-do list? No. But the story I was telling myself wasn't actually accurate. I was telling myself that I wasn't getting anything accomplished. But when I actually looked back and reflected on my planner, I was doing things. I was accomplishing them. And this kind of sparked this idea that I was telling myself a false narrative about me, and I was believing it. So, I want to walk you through exactly what I do every Sunday now that I've had this realization. So, usually I'll grab a cup of coffee, my planner, and I spend about 15 minutes answering these questions before I write a single thing on my next week's schedule. And we're going to go through each question right now. So, question one is, what gave me energy last week? Notice I didn't ask what made me productive. Those aren't always the same thing. I want you to think about which clients maybe energized you, or what creating type of content felt exciting for you, or did a walk actually feel really helpful? Or was that dinner with the family really grounding for you? Or did I feel creative anywhere in my week? Energy tells you where you naturally thrive. The second question, what drained me and my energy? This isn't about complaining. It's about noticing your patterns. So for me, it might be too many back to back sessions without a break or a lunch. It could look like really long commutes. It could look like switching completely different types of work when I really should have been focusing on finishing something. It could have been my administrative tasks that maybe just don't naturally feel exciting to me. Or it could be that I constantly had decision fatigue all day, and by the time I got home, I maybe wasn't the family member that I really wanted to be. The goal isn't to eliminate everything that drains you, it is to stop pretending that it doesn't.
Okay, quick pause. Because you've ever found yourself rewinding this episode like 3 times because your brain just drifted, this is for you. I hear this all the time. I can focus, just not when I actually need to. And that's exactly what the focus course is about. Because here's the truth. ADHD isn't a lack of attention, it's a regulation issue, which is why some days you're locked in for hours and other days you're rereading the same sentence, wondering what just happened. So, inside my executive functioning focus course, I break this down in a way that actually makes sense for you. We go through how your attention works in your brain, your specific focus patterns, why you get distracted externally and internally, and how to actually build a system that helps you stay on track and come back when you drift. Because the goal isn't perfect focus, it's knowing how to return without spiraling. So if you're tired of blaming yourself and you just want something that actually works with your brain, I'll link the focus course in the show notes. All right, let's get back to this episode.
Now we're on to question three. This question is really everything that changed. What actually mattered? Because not everything is urgent, is important. I want you to ask questions like, what truly moved the needle this week? Maybe it wasn't answering all of your emails. Maybe it was spending an uninterrupted hour writing, and it could have been writing on my dissertation, or having dinner with my kids or your family, or finally scheduling that doctor's appointment that you've probably been avoiding. Planning gets easier when you know what actually matters and that you made time for it. Number four, what keeps following you? This is where that red pen method in a prior episode comes in. I want you to look at your tasks you've carried over and ask, why is this still here? Is this too big? Do I need to break it down to make it into smaller chunks? Is it too vague of a goal or a task that I need to be doing? Is it no longer important and it's kind of just hanging around? Am I avoiding it? Or does it belong to someone else? Can I delegate some of this task to someone to help me out? So, for example, maybe the task of update your website has been following you for 3 weeks. And maybe the problem isn't necessarily motivation because you really do want to do this. Maybe it's that this update website task is actually 20 different tasks hiding under this one bullet point. Reflection helps you uncover that and maybe breaks it down into smaller steps so that you actually want to do the thing that's on your task. Question number five is, how do I want this upcoming week to feel? This might be one of my favorite questions because most planners ask, like, what do I want to accomplish? But I'm asking, how do I want to feel? Do I want this week to feel calm or focused or maybe connected or creative or intentional or maybe spacious? Then I build my calendar around that feeling. Because if I say I want a calm week, but I schedule 20 or 12 back to back commitments, I'm planning against that own goal. And that's kind of going against what my whole feeling of what I'm trying to do. So it allows me to step back and limit of what I need for this week. So this week I noticed something kind of funny. I had one task written in red for like 3 weeks in a row, and normally the old me would have thought, like, seriously, why can't I just get this done? But instead I got a little curious about it. I realized I wasn't procrastinating. I actually hadn't decided if I wanted to do it. The task wasn't the problem. The lack of a decision was. And that realization saved me from carrying these unnecessary guilt into another week in my planner. And that's exactly why I kept doing this reset and why it keeps helping me as I move forward.
If you're listening to this and thinking, this is exactly what I struggle with, I want you to know that I built something specifically for you. The EF, or Executive Functioning Activation course, walks you through why task initiation feels so hard with your ADHD and how to actually get yourself moving without shame, pressure, or burnout. It's short, practical, and designed for ADHD brains, not productivity culture. If starting is your biggest barrier, this course gives you structure, language, and tools that actually work for you. You'll find the link in the show notes.
I also want to emphasize that this reset isn't just for helping planning and being more productive and accomplishing things. It builds self trust. Every week, you're going to reflect and you're telling yourself, my experience matters, my patterns matter, that I can learn and grow from my past. That's really how self trust grows at the end of the day, not from perfect follow through, but from paying attention and building awareness and acknowledging you. Planning isn't about controlling every single moment. It's about making better decisions because you understand yourself a whole lot better. So, this Sunday, before you write your to do list, I just want you to spend 15 minutes answering these 5 questions. And I don't want you to worry about it doing absolutely perfectly or making sure that you finish out every question completely. I just want you to be honest. I want you to get curious about yourself. And then notice how different your planning feels as you start to plan your new week. If there's one thing I hope that you take away from today, it's this. Your planner isn't just a place to organize your week. It's a place of understanding yourself. There is so much data in it. Every unfinished task, every energized moment, every drained afternoon, every repeated pattern of that past week is all information for you. And the more that you learn about yourself, the easier it becomes to build systems that actually fit your life instead of fighting against it. So before you plan your next week, pause, reflect, and then move forward with some intention. Because the goal isn't to become someone different, it's to understand who the person is and who you really are right now. I want to thank you for joining me, and as always, be gentle with your mind.
One more thing before you go, and this helps me personally, staying present and grounded, which we all need, especially when your brain wants to spiral into disconnection. Me too. It's Brain FM. It's musically designed to help ADHD brains, well, really anyone's brain, focus, relax, or sleep, and I use it almost daily. If you want to try it, I've dropped my link in the show notes. And if you're looking for planning tools or ADHD-friendly resources, I'll keep a list of my favorite links in every episode.